So I'm finally back on YouTube. I want to try and start doing it a little bit more regularly. When I started my YouTube, I wanted it to be like mental health stuff. Like I want my Instagram to be more of my fitness and like short, funny stuff. And I want my YouTube to be more about mental health, and I want to start doing that more because I don't know. I just think it's important, and I want to use my platform for important things. So yeah, so my goal my goal with this video is to make it nice and let me move this actually. My goal with this video is to make it really like short and condensed and not very edited, because I hate when people are like, I filmed this video so many times. It's like such an annoying YouTuber thing to say. But genuinely, I think I filmed this video about 5 times. This is like the 5th time that I'm trying to make this video, because every time I film it, it's a hard thing to talk about, to be honest. Like every time I film it, I get lost and I am like rambling on for so long. So right now I'm gonna try and keep it like cohesive, and like I'm in a good mood right now, so I feel like now's a good time to film this. But anyway, so obviously I'm going to be talking about my experience with conversion therapy today. There's a lot of traumatic, triggering stuff in here, so please be wary of that. You don't have to watch this video if you feel like it's gonna be triggering to you. So before I get into the story, I do want to say it involves my family a lot, and this is not to be hateful to my family. This is not to like expose my family or make them look bad or anything like that. I don't think they're ever going to see this video, but I want it to be known, like, I don't hate them. I'm not out to get them. I'm not doing this to expose them or cancel them or whatever. I mean, they don't even know that I do YouTube, so I doubt they're gonna see it. But this isn't family slander. This is just my story. Like, this is about me. It's not about them. So how the whole convergent therapy thing kind of started was I was outed when I was 16 or 17, which was in 2019. As liking girls. There were text messages found on my phone. I grew up in a very strict Catholic household, so my parents went through my phone and saw that I was talking to girls in a not friendship way. So obviously that wasn't cool, and I had to go talk to a priest about it. And it wasn't very difficult to talk to this priest. It was somebody that I knew, and I hadn't really done anything other than talk to girls in a flirty way. And basically what he said to me was, you haven't done anything wrong, you haven't acted on it, and, just keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, don't talk to girls that way, but you haven't really done anything wrong. You haven't gone down the rabbit hole. And it was said to me then, and it was said to me always during my upbringing, that you cannot go any further. It was like hand holding, kissing, stuff like that. It was taught to me, once you do that, that's like the gateway drug for everything else, and you can't go back from that. Once you do something like that, then you're addicted. And then, because girls, they're just so addictive. Obviously. But yeah, that's kind of how it was taught to me growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people growing up Christian, conservative, that's the way it was taught. So yeah, and my parents were very disappointed. I remember my family just being so upset about it and really disappointed. I remember my mom like crying a lot and being like, what did I do wrong? I failed. And that was really hurtful. I feel like she really made it all about her and how she was struggling so much. And she had like angry outbursts about it. It was, like, to be honest with you, it was pretty violent at home after I was outed, and there was just a lot of anger directed towards me over this. And yeah, it really sucked a lot. So and then after I saw that guy, he referred us to an actual conversion therapy program, and I when he referred my mom, or he gave my mom a little card, like, go see this guy from this organization, he'll set you up. Um, and I was like, oh my god, this is really serious. So I basically, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm straight, and I just kind of like went back into the closet and pretended to be straight. And obviously that had a lot of really negative impacts on me. It was not easy to pretend to be straight, and it really sucked. And I felt like I always had to be hiding, and I always had to be really small and just not bother anybody. And it was still like, I feel like the way I was treated by my family was, it didn't change, even though I was like, I'm not going to do anything with girls and I'm going to be straight from now on. There was still disappointment there. There was still, I was still looked at as small and less than, and um, just something to be hidden or something to be ashamed of. I think that we definitely had family issues before, but a lot of me felt like, and I can look back now and be like, that's ridiculous, there was dysfunction already, but I felt really, really guilty about breaking up the family, or making making the family fall apart, basically, is how I felt, because the aggression and the anger at home, it was wearing off on my brother and like my parents, how they interacted with each other. Like, everything just kind of exploded, and I was so, at the time I felt so guilty for it, and I felt like I caused everyone's pain and suffering, and I caused all these issues, and it's all because of me. And I had already had like mental health issues, from other things at that point. But I mean, to be honest with you, at that point I was like, well, I just want to kill myself. I don't I don't want to be here if everybody is this upset about who I am. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I pretended. I was like, I'm straight, I'm not going to do anything, and I kept that up for several months, and I had been questioning my gender for a while, um, and I don't think it was until I was 18, it was like shortly after my 18th birthday, I went and got a haircut. I had been dressing more masculine, like, since um, before the first time I went to go see a priest. I was wearing like my dad's clothes a lot, which is, it was really funny. They were way too big for me, so that was interesting. Um, but yeah, so I was already pretty masculine presenting before I realized I was trans. And when I did, I came out to one person, um, who was also queer, and they were really supportive, and their family found out about it somehow, and they also were religious. So I can't remember, a lot of this is difficult for me to remember the exact order of things or exactly what happened, because it was like so long ago, and it was such a stressful time that I don't quite remember all the details, so forgive me for that. But um, yeah, I told this person, and their family found out about it, and I originally was like, there's no way, I'm never going to tell my family that I'm trans, ever, ever, ever. Like, they cannot know, it wouldn't go well. And, but once I knew that this person's family knew about it, I was really, really concerned that they were going to out me to my parents, or they were going to tell my parents. And so I waited a few days, and I was like just being eaten alive by anxiety, that I was like, is today the day that they're gonna find out? Is today the day? Like, is it gonna be tomorrow? Is it gonna be next week? Is it never gonna happen? And so I don't know why, and this is still, I still regret this, but I did come out to my parents as trans when I was 18. It was September something, and it didn't go well, obviously. But I wanted to tell them because I didn't want to wait around for somebody to out me. And I don't know. I still regret it. I still think I should have tried to keep it hidden and, um, just not even start that conversation, but obviously that didn't happen. So we're here now. So in the moment, they were really calm, and obviously they were disappointed. I just kind of told them. I was like, hey, these people, they're calling me Peter now, and I want to transition, and like that's what I'm gonna do when I move out, whatever. I was in the process of moving out, and I had like a full-time job at this point. It was like right after high school. I started uh, working in construction because that was like the fastest thing I could find that was full-time, that was enough money to survive off of. So that's what I was doing at the time. And yeah, they were calm in the moment, and they were just kind of like, well, we're really disappointed, and we saw this coming because you dress the way that you do and you got your haircut and whatever, and we saw it coming, and we're really upset about it, basically, is what they said it calmly, but that's what they said. And a few days after that, we hadn't contacted the people that we were referred to until this point, and my mom was like, yeah, we're gonna go see these people, and you're gonna do the program. It turned out, though, since I was only 18, I couldn't do the program. You had to be 21 or something like that to be in like the group sessions. So they figured something out where I could just see the priest, and it would just be me, my mom, and a priest. So anyway, I went to see this guy, and this was like the really, really horrible part. This is like the worst part of the whole thing. Um, he was the director of something, whatever. I went to see this guy, and it was like, I tell people it's like a therapy session from hell almost. I went into this guy's office, and it was me and my mom, and the first half was all just shame, and the entire thing was like emotional manipulation, to be completely honest with you. And the first half was shame, 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 shame. Aren't you so ashamed of yourself? Don't you feel disgusting? And don't you feel like, aren't you so upset about this? Aren't you sad that it's gotten to this point? Those kind of things were being said to me. And at the time, I was like, yeah, I am. Like, my family is upset at me. My family is upset at each other. Like, the home environment is terrible, and it's all my fault, and everything feels wrong and uncomfortable, and I hate my body. And then this guy is like, don't you just, you must feel so ashamed, and you must feel so upset, and da 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 da. So, and like at the time I was so broken down, I was like, yeah, I feel like that, and I feel like shit, and I want to get this fixed, and I don't know what to do. So, and for the first half, I was like open. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm open to whatever you have to say, to be honest, because what I'm doing now isn't working. So let's like, what do you got, dude? So yeah, he that's what it was like for the first half of the session. Then the second half, it got crazier, bro. It got crazier. This is when this second half of this session, I think it was too long. It was like 2-3 hours. The second half was basically, it's the cult tactic, right? They break you down, and then they give you their ideas, and it was too fast, and I saw through it because it was too fast. And I think he tried to do this all in one shot, and had he spaced it out more, maybe I would have fallen for it, but I really didn't, because it was like way too fast, and the switch was really scary, and I was like, whoa, what are you talking about, dude? So the second half was statistics that he's pulling out of his ass about domestic violence, and how, if you date women, then you're gonna be abused, and you're gonna be so sad, and all your friends are gonna be gay, and then if you decide to leave, then they're gonna turn their backs on you, and da da da, whatever. And And I was like, that almost sounds like. And then in the future, when I left the Catholic Church, that's what it was like. A little bit of projection going on, I think. So, and then obviously he's talking about you want to fulfill your duty as a Christian woman and have children and get married, and you can't be doing these man things, whatever. Um, and I don't know, just the stupid, the usual stuff. And then the one thing that he said to me that this made me this is what made me leave the Catholic Church, is when this guy said this to me. The second that he said this to me, I was like, I'm leaving. I'm done. I can't be Catholic anymore. I was Christian for a while after that, but when he said this, I was like, I can't. I can't be here anymore. Um, he he's pulling all these fake statistics out of his ass about trans people touch kids and trans people are rapists and da 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 da, whatever. And then he looks at me and he's like, if you continue this, you will become a pedophile. And trans people become pedophiles, and that is what you are on the road to become. And that was extremely, extremely disturbing for me to hear, because, first of all, who the fuck says that to an 18-year-old kid? I'm 18! I'm 18! I'm a virgin. I had never been in a relationship. I had never, I can't tell you, how pure and innocent I was at 18. And this dude is telling me that I'm going to become a pedophile. That was extremely disturbing for me, besides the obvious, but for two main reasons. For me, this is something that I don't know. I don't know that I want to really talk about this online, but I do want to say this because I think that it adds context to the story. But I was sexually abused as a child multiple times, from the age of 7 to 10, by a Christian man. And I can't tell you how much rage that filled me with, for somebody to tell me that I would become a pedophile after I experienced that firsthand. And it ruined my life, dude. Being sexually abused as a child ruined my life. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it and that I don't have symptoms and nightmares and all this horrible stuff from that experience. And I can't tell you how sincere I am about protecting children and not hurting children. So to hear him say that I would become a pedophile was just so damaging and so triggering, and it was horrible. It was horrible to hear that, and it really, really fucked with my head. And then secondly, to have my mom there, because again, like I said, my mom had to be there because I was under their age limit. To have my mom sit there and listen to this guy say shit about her child, and then just she's just yo, whatever. She didn't stop it or anything. She's just allowing him to continue saying this stupid shit, was crazy, dude. And again, I don't want this to be about my family. I don't want to hate on my mom. I don't hate my mom. I don't I hold no grudges against her, but it was really damaging to have my mom go along with that and not really say anything about it and just let this guy, because then I'm sitting there do you agree with this? Do you think that I'm a predator? Do you think that I would hurt kids? And I then realized I can't ask her for help anymore. She's gonna choose her religion over me. I can't ask my dad for help anymore. He's gonna choose his religion over me. And that was tough. And it's whatever. I was an adult, right? So who cares? But it still is hard. It's still a hard thing to go through. So that sucked. So, and then I was in that program for a little while after. I never went in person to see that guy again, but we had like an online forum thing that you could go through and look at. Um, and after that, after that meeting, I really knew. I was like, okay, I can't, something isn't right. Like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do for me to try and be straight and try and, you know, go back to being a normal, straight, cis person, whatever. Um, but I stayed with the program. I moved out shortly after that happened, and so I didn't really have any obligation. I was paying my own bills, like I had my own job. Everything was, I was like completely independent by that time at 18. So um I didn't have an obligation to do anything like that anymore, but I still stuck with it because that's what I grew up with, you know what I mean, was the church and um like all of this Catholic stuff. So I hung on to it, and I did decide that I didn't want to be Catholic anymore, but I still, just after everything I'd been through, like the way that I grow up until age 18, you can't just all of a sudden be like, okay, I'm gonna go this way and like turn in a completely different direction. So I stayed in their little online forum thing, and it was basically like, it was kind of like Twitter. You would like post text, and then people could respond to it or like it or message you or whatever. And there were just day after day after day, people would come in and post, um, you know, I'm fighting it and I'm lonely and this is really hard, but I know it's the right thing to do. And people just had no other reason than like God says so. Um, and at this point, like over time, as I was deconstructing, I was finding that, well, certain things were added into the Bible, certain things were mistranslated, whatever, this and that. And so I eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't think any of this is real. I don't understand why we're following only some of the Old Testament, but then some of the things that you want to do, it's okay because, oh, that's the Old Testament. But then all of the things about homosexuality are in the Old Testament, but are they really, or were they just mistranslated? There's a lot of, I could make a whole other video on like my deconstruction and stuff. I guess I want to talk about deconstruction a little bit in this video, but I won't go into too much detail on all of that because it would take me forever. But yeah, so I had a lot of questions about that, and then by the time I was still 18, I think, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna be a Christian, and I'm gonna be non-denominational, and I'm not gonna associate with any church or whatever. Um, and the thing that really made me be like, I don't want to do this conversion therapy group anymore was, there was a 60-year-old woman who posted a little paragraph. She had just joined the group and she posted a little paragraph. And she's like, I've experienced same-sex attraction for my entire life. And we couldn't call it like, you're a lesbian, you're gay, you're homosexual, whatever. We weren't allowed to say that. You had to say same-sex attraction because if you say anything else, it's like admitting that it's real or something. I don't know. It was stupid, but we had to say same-sex attraction. So anyways, she's like, I've been struggling with same-sex attraction my entire life. I stayed single. I stayed celibate. I've done everything right, and I still just feel so empty and so lonely, and I'm single, and my house is empty, and my health is failing, and I'm completely alone, and I'm mourning the life that I didn't get, basically. And I didn't, that's not word for word. I mean, it was much more devastating reading the real thing. But that was crazy to read. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'm 18, I'm pretty young. do I want to do this to myself? Do I want my entire life to be yearning and being sad and sitting here disappointed that I have to fight this thing that I know isn't even wrong? And so after that, I was like, I'm done. And I left. And a couple months later, I started testosterone, and that testosterone did not fix everything, and certainly didn't like cure me or anything, but I made so much more progress mentally the day I started testosterone than I had for years and years and years being in the church. And eventually, less than a year, shortly after I started testosterone, several months later, and this isn't meant to be like hate on Christians. I think that Christianity is fine as long as you're not like a fundamentalist. I got to a point where I was like, okay, why is this the only right religion, and why does none of this make sense? Why is everything just like, oh well, you just have to believe it, and we don't really know why, we just have faith, and I had so many questions and no answers, and eventually it was just too much mental gymnastics anymore for me. And again, like I said, I could make a whole another video on my deconstruction process, but like by the time I was 19, I was like, this is a joke, I'm leaving, I can't do it anymore. And so I pursued other I don't know that I would say I'm religious. I don't know really what I am now. I tried a lot of different things when I left, and I think now I've kind of landed on some kind of like paganish something. I'm hesitant to call myself pagan because I don't know like very much about the gods and like the religious aspect of paganism. I kind of just like worship nature, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I would call that pagan, but I'm hesitant to call myself pagan because again, I don't know. That's kind of what I feel like, but I'm hesitant because I feel like I don't know that much about it, and I think I have an unrealistic expectation for myself because I've never been new to a religion before. Like with Christianity, it was like I was raised in it. That was my normal. I knew everything about it. I knew all the saints, and I knew, the entire Bible. I had read it all, and I've read all these books on theology and stuff by the time I was 13, and so now I'm trying to accept that I'm new at certain religions or spiritual practices, and honestly, I'm so much happier because even as a kid, I liked spells and like crystals and meditating and yoga and stuff, and I never could do that because it was sacrilege. And now it's not sacrilege. Now it's just something that I can do if I want to, which, I don't know, I think that's really cool. Alright, I didn't mean to yap about religious stuff for so long, but, yeah, that's my conversion therapy story, and I wanted to talk about this because, I don't see a lot of people talk about conversion therapy. I don't think a whole lot of people have been to conversion therapy, which I think is really good. I think too many people have been to conversion therapy, but just like in my real world experience, I haven't really met anybody else who has been through it. And I honestly feel really fortunate that I wasn't so deep into it. I hear a lot of people who go to like camps or overnight programs, or like even they have housing for these people. For a long time, I was like, just because of the other traumatic things that I went through as a child, I kind of brushed it off, and I was like, that wasn't that bad, and it didn't affect me very much. And lately in my life, I'm trying to like give myself time to process things mentally, and I've realized that conversion therapy has very negatively affected me, and it continues to affect me, even though I'm not Christian anymore, even though I don't believe those things. I still feel them emotionally inside. And I guess that's what I want to, the message that I want to leave people with is like, it doesn't matter if you unlearn things or right, like I know that it's not real. I know that I'm not going to hell. I know that I'm not sinful. I know all those things for 100%. But I still feel shame. It still hurts sometimes. You know what I mean? And it gets less and less every day. Like I know I'm doing the right thing. I've never felt this good before, and without like the boundaries and the confines of Catholicism, I feel so much better, and I feel like for the first time I feel 100% certain in my heart that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing for myself, and I never felt that before. Um, but you still feel shame, and you still kind of question things a little bit, as we do, because we're human. It's okay to not be confident, and that was the thing that I really really struggled with when I was first out, was pride. And I hated Pride Month, and I hated Pride parades, and I was like, why is everybody so like fucking loud and whatever. I was one of those at first. And that really just came from like internal shame. But I also do want people to know there's like this pressure to be an advocate, and there's pressure to be loud and proud and like super confident as a queer person and da 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 da. Like, people really put pressure on you to be super confident and be like super happy all the time, and I'm so much happier this way, whatever. And like, but the truth is, it's not always like that. Like, you don't always have to be proud. You don't always have to feel amazing. And I think when queer people admit that, a lot of conservative people will go, gotcha, look, you feel ashamed, you know that this is wrong. And sometimes we'll force ourselves to feel okay, or we'll force ourselves to be proud or whatever, so that people don't see that we experience shame or we experience uncertainty, which are both human emotions. No matter if you're trans or not, no matter if you're queer or not, no matter who you are, you're going to experience shame, you're going to experience uncertainty, because you're a human being. So don't undermine yourself because of that. If you feel ashamed, if you feel unsure, just allow yourself to feel that way. Don't try and hide it, don't try and brush it off. You're allowed to feel that way. That doesn't mean that everything, oh my gosh, like, you don't have to get existential about it, is what I'm trying to say. That doesn't mean that everything you are is wrong, and like, don't get too extreme about it. Keep it the size that it's at. Don't let it run away with you, but also don't try and pretend that it doesn't exist. Like, acknowledge that it's there. It's a human emotion. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. That doesn't mean that the Christians gotcha. It just means that you're a human being, and you're healing, and you're trying to unlearn a lot of stuff. All right, folks. That's my whole story, so thank you very much for being here. Thank you for letting me tell my story. The comments are going to be very limited, because I don't care what the Catholics have to say about this. I really don't. They said their piece to me, so they can be done talking to me now. So, comment section is for queer people only, so have a great day.